us, we've got Dr. Rob McCormick from Thomas Rivers University. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Mohawk, Kanika'aka, and I work as a professor and research chair in Indigenous Health at Thompson Rivers University. On my partner's home community of the Kamloops to Secwepemc, which is the tribe that is located there in Kamloops.
Fantastic, and we've been here over the last couple of days at ANU talking about Canadian and Australian Indigenous health and wellness. Can you tell us a little bit about the significance of the event in your opinion?
Well, it's been a really good discussion an open discussion on some of the challenges and strengths that we have as Indigenous peoples and how we can improve the health conditions for our people. So it's been really nice and open and unlike a typical conference where you just hear people talk.
Yeah, actually, you did something this morning talking about not just talking, but actually doing an exercise, which I thought was really significant. Can you just talk us through the exercise for the people that didn't have the privilege of seeing it?
Sure, it's an experiential exercise that a colleague of mine developed, another Mohawk psychologist or psychotherapist. We had this whole legacy of residential schools in both Canada and in Australia, and I wanted people to understand how that taking the children away can radically change the roles of parents, of elders, and of the whole community. So if it's a child-centered community, which we recreated in the sculpture, what happens when the children are taken away? Well, the whole community sort of implodes because the children were the center, and if they're no longer there, then the center can't hold. Then we recreated the square, which is more of Western sculpture for community, and so it's disconnected, and the children felt not attended to. The elders didn't feel like they were holding things together anymore. The fathers were confused about what role they had, and I think that accounts for why so many Aboriginal men are involved with parenting, and the moms didn't feel supported at all. And so it sort of gives people more of a visceral understanding of what is that like, and why taking our children away for over 100 years, how that impacted us.
Yeah, and we have a similar history here in Australia. So the human tableau, I think, resonated with a lot of the Australians in the room, because obviously with the stolen gen, a lot of our children were taken away.
Right.
So I'm sure you probably know a little bit about that history as well. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed is while that there's significant differences in the development of relationships between Indigenous people and invaders, settlers, colonisers, depending on what you like to call them, there's also been similar issues that we've faced. So what do you think has been probably your one take-home message, if you can think of one, from the event so far?
Well, we're stronger working together. I mean, in some ways, I guess, Canada's seen as being further ahead in terms of the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous, or the government. But Australia is catching up quickly, and I think we can learn a lot from some of the success stories here in Australia. And we're certainly happy to share what we have. And I think working together, it's going to speed up the whole process of healing for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. And just one last thing was discussed yesterday about having an ongoing working group, because obviously one conversation's a good start, but it's not going to make the significant change, like you said yesterday, the leaps and bounds that we need to actually. So what do you think about the need for ongoing relationships and dialogue?
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I think that governments need trusted advisors and advice, and because to implement or to import programs from either country without really knowing whether they're appropriate is kind of a waste of money. So just by investing a little money to bring people together, I think that makes sense. And I see from the Canadian High Commissioner and from the Chief Medical Officer from Indigenous health. In Canada, at least, I see them being very supportive of something like this.
Yep, fantastic. I have to say, it seems like a very supportive event, and there's been some very open and frank discussions from all sides, which I think is really refreshing.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you very much
You're
for that.
welcome, Anya.